1 year since the air sirens blared across Kyiv. 1 year since Vera found herself on the opposite side of the war from her sister.
Выходит, что ее сын пришел убивать моего сына.
And 1 year since Anastasia and her son left their home in Mariupol for the last time.
I was incredibly scared. I had no understanding what will come next and where we are going.
The attacks were brutal. Civilians were targeted. Millions of families were left with no choice but to flee, while others took shelter wherever they could find it.
The refugee crisis in and around Ukraine is really unprecedented. The infrastructure, the trains primarily in Ukraine, were working. People left really quickly.
Second day after war started, took my daughter and moved to Poland.
Just been a non-stop flow of people at this border crossing.
I think the other things that make this a really unique situation is really the fluidity of movement. We're seeing this cross-border flow of people, right? So it wasn't just that people were able to go out quickly. Some people have been able to come back.
We leave Ukraine, moved to Poland. After we moved to Germany, and after Germany back to Ukraine, and after this we moved to USA.
Tonight, a new asylum program directing Ukrainian refugees to U.S. airports.
I have my friend living in USA. He said there is a program U4U, and you need to decide, do you want it or not?
Humanitarian parole is a really useful tool that the United States has, especially to get people out of harm's way.
The program is administered by Customs and Immigration, but they don't have a way for you to match with a Ukrainian or an American. You kind of have to find your own. So there have been all these Facebook groups. One day I had seen Yuri's post and I just started messaging with him and we hit it off.
Since February 24th, 2022, over 8 million people have fled Ukraine to European countries. Nearly 5 million of those have applied for temporary or national protection in their host countries. But those who have found safety outside of Ukraine are still searching for peace. And as the months drag on, they watch in horror from afar.
No matter where we are, even being abroad and safe, we still worry about our country.
Many expected the war to be over in weeks. But 12 months later, the fighting is far from over. And the war's second year is unlikely to be its last.
This war is going to last for quite some time. And that means that people who are caught in the line of fire are going to continue to be displaced for quite some time.
And for those who left, it's unknown if they'll ever return home permanently.
Refugees will almost always say they want to go home. When it's safe, they want to go home. But the reality is, and the evidence suggests, that the longer people are in displacement, the longer they are outside of their countries in particular, the harder it becomes just from a practical perspective to go home.
So we will see. I don't know. Mostly we think we should stay. Because I think my kids maybe have a little more opportunities here.
But for others, the answer is clear.
If the city is under control of Ukraine, I will be the first person to come. I will come to rebuild my city. I do not have other plan. I still hope to return.
Where we are, both sides are claiming major successes, but the truth is that the war has devolved into a deadly slog. In the first few weeks of the invasion, Russia made great strides, rolled to within a few miles of Ukraine's capital, claimed swaths of land. Since that time, Ukraine forces have regained some territory, strengthened their defenses with the help of massive Western aid. The concern we should all have is the apparent longevity. I don't think anyone thought it would last a year when it began. The battle really has come down to focusing on the Donbass, which is the industrial east of Ukraine that borders Russia. And some of that land has been loosely controlled by Russian-backed rebels for almost a decade. Putin has basically said he won't give up without the Donbass. Zelensky has dug in his heels, says we're not giving up any land. And so where do we go from here? They're just going to keep on killing. It's a little scary that way. There is a belief that the Russians have already begun their spring offensive, if you will. Ukraine is expected to try and crank up an offensive, and they will be aided by the modern Western tanks that will be rolling in very soon. So I think you're going to see actually an increase in the conflict. The war is going to become more brutal than it is right now over the next few months.